Okay, so the next rule I'm going to go over is number 5, which is use a comma after a dependent clause that begins a sentence and is followed by an independent clause. So to understand this, you need to know what an independent clause is. Remember, we talked about in rule number 4, it's a complete sentence on its own, or could be. It has a subject, a verb, and a complete thought, all 3 of those things. But a dependent clause cannot stand on its own because it's missing at least one of the following: subject, verb, complete thought. It could be missing more than one, but it's missing at least one. So if you have a dependent clause and it is followed by an independent clause, you have to have a comma in between them. It is not true the reverse. If you have the independent clause first followed by a dependent, there's no comma between them. So here we have our dependent clause, running from the dog, because it is missing a subject. Who is running from the dog? So this is our dependent clause. And here we have our independent clause, I tripped and fell. The subject, the verb, and the complete thought. The verbs and the complete thought. So this is our independent clause. So because we have dependent followed by independent, you have to have this lovely comma in between them. The same is true below. Across the town, I wandered aimlessly. Across the town is missing both a subject, no subject, and no verb, because who was going across the town? What were they doing? So this is your dependent clause. I wandered aimlessly, subject, verb, complete thought. So they must have a comma in between them. Another would be walking through the leaves, I fell. So I fell is actually an independent clause because it has a subject and a verb, and that's the complete thought. So this is your independent clause. Walking through the leaves does not have a subject, so it's a dependent clause separated by a comma. So just remember what I said before also, that if it's the reverse, there is no comma. If it is I fell walking through the leaves, if the independent clause is first, there is no comma. It would just be like that. If I were to do I tripped and fell running from the dog, no comma in between them. I wandered aimlessly across the town, no comma in between them. But if the dependent clause is first, followed by an independent clause, then you must have a comma in between. Right, Porter and Anna?
Of course.